Good evening, everyone. It is right at 6 o'clock, I believe, on Tuesday, June 13th, 2023. Time for the meeting of the Council Committee of the City of Gallatin. This is a work session, so all of our public comment will be at the beginning of the meeting. I do want to tell you that. But we're going to begin the meeting with the roll call this evening.
Vice Mayor Love. Here. Councilman Carter.
Present.
Councilman Fan.
Here.
Councilman Fennell.
Here.
Councilwoman George. Here. Councilman Hayes.
Present.
Councilman Javance.
Present.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you so much. You have minutes from May 23rd, 2023 for your consideration this evening.
So moved.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilman Hayes, second by Councilwoman George. Are there any additions or corrections requested? None. All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. They are unanimously approved. We'll now move to public recognition. You may come forth and speak to anything that you wish this evening. You will have 5 minutes to do so. We do ask that you introduce yourself and give us your address so that we can record that for the record. So right now, public recognition is now open.
Good afternoon, Council. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is David Klein. I live at 398 Branham Mill Road in Gallatin, unincorporated. I would like to speak primarily about the upcoming annexation of Block 4 and Peach Valley. But I would like to speak in general about annexations at all. And I'm trying to figure out why the big rush to grow the city geography by double by 2035. A little bit about me. I was born in Santa Monica in 1958. In 1960, my family moved to a dairy town called El Monte that had a total population of 13,000. In 5 years, that had gone to 40,000. We moved to San Dimas, California, which was primarily a lemon grove community. It was about 13,000 in 1965, and by the time I left in 1978, it was more along the lines of 45,000. I moved to Tustin, California, in Orange County, that at the time was about 24,000. When I left 20 years later to come to heaven in Sumner County, it was about 45 to 48,000. I was a builder, the son of a builder, so I think I have maybe a unique understanding of this, and this is no slam on any of you at all, but probably very few of you understand the growth that California went through at that time and what that does to communities. My concern with the rapid growth that is happening in Sumner County is going to create the same thing that I ran from in 1998 and was delighted to leave, because what had been a beautiful place to grow up when I was a child became really a hard place to live. Gridlock everywhere you went, aggravated people everywhere you went. Everybody was in a hurry. Everybody felt like they were behind the times. A lot of road rage, a lot of everything. Primarily the reason why I ran for the county commission. And I understand that I've had conversations with many of you about growth. I've had conversations that went like, well, David, you don't remember 10 years ago when we were begging developers to come into the area. My question is why? Not all growth is good growth. I've had conversations with members on this council that say our infrastructure is fabulous. I challenge you to drive down 31E right now, or Main Street, look out the window. What's happening is we're not keeping up the infrastructure with the growth that's happening. When I moved to Sumner County, it was a little over 100,000 people. It's double that now in the 25 years I've lived here. This city was about 24,000 when I moved here. It's now pushing 47 or 48. This is rapid, rapid growth, and the after effects are not great. Lot of crime goes up, not just in kind with the population growth, but it tends to be magnified because of the agitation of people being in tight quarters, which takes me back to Lock 4 in Peach Valley. You have 2 points of ingress and egress there. You have Lock 4 and you have Peach Valley. Very few people are going to use Peach Valley because it goes down to the river. Lock 4 is already a tight road. I realize this is only about annexation, but the people behind the annexation are talking about nearly 1,000 units. That's about 7,000 trips per day. I don't believe that road can take it. I know that there are other arterial routes that are being planned, but we don't know if that's going to happen in 5, 10, 20, or 30 years, depending on those farmers and when they'll be willing to give up their land. So I would ask you, and you're all welcome to call me if you need some actual information about what it's like to grow rapidly, like I saw happen as the son of a builder in Southern California. But please consider what you're doing as you go on with these annexations. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Todd Alexander, 217 Strange Circle. I also want to speak in opposition of the annexation, as I have multiple times this year. Nothing has changed. 876 more units on 295 acres. The plan says that's only 3 units per acre. That's wonderful. With the exception of there's 133 acres of green space that is mainly unbuildable, is why it's green space. And so you really have 876 units on 162 acres. That development is going to feel like 5.5 units per acre. That's high density in my book. Not to mention the traffic. I've got a picture. Mr. Trell, if you'll pass that on around. Took this picture just a couple weeks ago as I was coming up Hancock from Lock 4 Road. You'll see that used to be a Shell station. Now it's a mobile station there on the corner. Traffic, many cars in front of me. And I looked in my rearview mirror and it went all the way back around the curve and down the hill. It was not rush hour. It was not school traffic. It was Tuesday, May the 30th at 1:55 p.m. It wasn't lunch hour. It wasn't any special time, just traffic. And so by annexing this property and bringing another 876 units in, I echo what Commissioner Klein said. We know what it's going to do to the traffic, and that is already a horrendous situation. I promise I was in park when I took the picture, I told Chief, but it was almost that way today as I was leaving. That's my route going home. I've heard a lot this year that in previous meetings we were just okaying the application. So now here we are, we're going to see what really happens. What does this council really want? The citizens have shown up this year in opposition of this annexation. We know the owners, we know the developers, the bankers, the engineers, the builders, they're going to want this. That's their job. I would hope they would want these things. But what are the neighbors saying? What are the citizens saying? I don't know that I've heard very many, if any, citizens that have come and said, please, let's annex more. Please, let's bring more homes in. Please, let's increase traffic. And so I just wonder where they are begging for this annexation to happen. Thank you for my time.
Oh, good evening, people. It's Patrick Greeners for 317 Malone Drive, and you guys keep doing what you're doing. I haven't heard any facts. I've heard a bunch of claims, and, you know, people are going to do that. But when 2 or 4 or 7 people think that they speak for the whole city, it's not true. It's just a small portion. And then when that same group, and I got to say it, you got a group on there that's speaking to all your citizens right now, and you can go access it on the internet. And I asked it, I wish it would stop, but they're a group, and I got to call them out because it's pretty serious. When you got a Sumner County Constitutional
Point
Republic
of order.
group. Okay, so there's a group in Gallatin and other places where other people are members where they have a place on their site where it says free speech and the right to bear arms. And they tell people verbatim, the First Amendment was established for a reason. Now, this is a quote from their website that they entice other people to believe in or say it's like their creed or cry. The First Amendment was established for a reason.
Of order.
It was the most
Has to do
important.
with city
The
business.
Second Amendment, it's there to protect the first, et cetera. And you can read the website for more. And last week, I was called out of order, and we were breathing smoke when I wish people did us an order. And if they had the gall to do that, look into why we're breathing smoke and what they could do about it to help us, rather than call it a threat. Yeah, it was a threat to all of us. We are all being threatened by this smoke from Canada. But yet I get accused of making a threat because of ignorance. I don't think it's fair. Someone that does their due diligence, someone that does their homework and brings truth, facts, knowledge, and wisdom to this podium every time, never questioned. Doubted, yes. When the smoke clears, what we have left behind is things that are new and things we notice that have always been there, but we don't notice them. Well, you guys think about that. Smoke's clearing and the truth's coming out. Thank you all. Have a good night.
My name is Francis Ann Sadler, and I live at 1657 East Broadway Street. And what I'm here for today is because they putting a subdivision up where Chief Mormon a lot is, and all the water, when it rains, all the water come down on me. I have email pictures to the city showing where all my land, and it's going up under my house, it's going everywhere. And I want to see if they can get somebody to do something to keep from, I'm the one catching all of it. And I don't want, it's going on my house, and I have had mold in my house. So, but,
We actually been, it's our family land. I live out there too, but I live
Sir, would you give your name too, please, for the record?
Charles Ray. I'm her sister, I'm her brother, I'm sorry. We've been living out there since, I guess.
74.
74. And we've never had that problem before. We, grew up there where, before she had a house there, we used to play down there. And, all them years, water
Flooded.
never came there.
It never flooded.
And they built this, they're developing this subdivision beside us. And ever since then, the water's been running off that hill, and it's been coming down, and it just seemed to be ending up down around her house. And, like she said, it's just been problems, and she's talked to several people. And so we just thought we'd come here and let y'all know maybe y'all can help this situation out. Thank you.
Who is here from engineering this evening? I know, Charles, would you mind speaking with them and letting them know how to contact you guys and help them out? I'd appreciate it.
Thank
That
you.
gentleman right back there will be your ticket to get some information from. So
Thank you.
thank y'all.
Good evening, Mayor Brown and Council. Michelle Juvance, 1335 Long Hollow Pike, and I'm here to ask you to put a pause on annexing anything into the city at this time. Something that I was just looking at today, because when I was reading the annexation plan of service, something kind of caught my attention. So it seems like the goalposts keep moving here in Gallatin when it comes to plans of services, certain services. So I looked back at the annexation feasibility study from the 2008 annexation that included my property. And at that time, I'm looking at the police services specifically. There were 61 sworn police officers. And this was, I'm looking at this study, which was done in January of 2008. So these are the numbers from 2007. So the population back then was 27,723 people. That is what the numbers that were used for this study. And there were 61 sworn officers. So like I've mentioned before several times, the MTAS recommendation is 2.55 per 1,000 sworn officers. At the time of this 2008 annexation, the ratio was actually 2.2 per 1,000. And it says here that, which it says in all the annexation plan of services, that a similar ratio must be maintained in order to provide the same level of service. It always says that. But when I say the goalposts keep moving, what I'm saying is that in what you have in your packet today, the 2023 ratio is what is stated. It's based on a 51,653 population with 93 sworn officers. So that's actually a 1.8 per 1,000 ratio. So we've gone from 2.2 to 1.8. So it also says in the annexation plan of service that we need to maintain this 1.8 ratio to keep the same level of service. So what is it? Every time we annex more and we keep diminishing our level of service, we keep moving the goalpost because this is what we need to maintain in order to keep the same level of service. But it doesn't work that way, I don't think, because I expect the same level of service that was promised when the property was annexed in 2008. But it's really hard to keep up with that with such a significant growth rate. And I understand that. I'm not saying it's anybody's fault. I'm just saying that this is what it is. It's the facts, it's the numbers. So you're not supposed to change the level of service with each annexation. I'd like to actually just see you hit the pause button and let us get caught up. Let the city get caught up. Like, that's just the police. You know, those are numbers that are there and they're just written out. You can look at the numbers, you can do the math for yourself and check my math. But hit the pause button. The city doesn't need to annex anymore right now because all you're going to do is just make it harder for people down the line to, like, even our plan of service is just going to get worse and worse and worse. Our levels are going to get worse and worse. And that word level is there for a reason. Like, you use a level when you're building a house or building a fence to make sure that it's straight and good. But if you don't use a level or you keep changing your level, it's going to get crooked and messed up. So I just say, like, keep the level of service at the 2.55 or even the 2.4, which is the national average, or even the 2.2, which was what we had in 2007. But right now we're at 1.8. So please consider that and hit the pause on annexations. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak this evening? Now would be your time. Seeing no one, public recognition is closed. And we will move on now to mayor's comments. Just a few things I want to share with you this evening. First of all, I want to say a really big thank you to Second Generation Graveyard and Restore Muscle Car. they are the two operations that brought the Bandit Run to Gallatin. And I know I've mentioned it before, but until we actually experienced it this past weekend, really didn't understand the scope of it and how much appeal there would be within the community to participate and observe and see all the cars that are here in Sumner County, and also the impact that's having on businesses. So I want to say a big thank you to the folks at our local establishment, which is Second Generation Graveyard, and the Bandit Run folks. They've had so far a good week here. Tomorrow night they will be on the square starting about 5:30. So if you're interested in the old Trans Ams and Firebirds, you can come to the square in the City Hall parking lot. Yes, I had to think about what that other car was. And see the cars. And the other day when they had their kickoff on Sunday, they had several of the characters from Smokey and the Bandit, which is what this is kind of based upon. So I think you would enjoy seeing that. If you would like to do that, you can do that tomorrow evening. They're also doing drives in and out of Sumner County, so at different times you may see a whole long line of 150 of these cars. So if you do, you might pull over and wave at them or say thanks or whatever. Just a couple of things calendar-wise I want to share with you. Flag Day, tomorrow, the 14th. On the 15th, this Thursday, is the third Thursday on Main of the season. Local performer Connor McCutcheon is going to be performing, and that starts at about 6:30 in downtown Gallatin. That's always a fun event. Again, if you've not been, I encourage you to do so. One thing that I do know about this year's Third Thursday on Main series is that in August, Chapel Hart's going to be performing, and so that's going to be a really big deal for the city of Gallatin, and we're excited about that. On the 18th, which is this coming Sunday, Father's Day, is the Juneteenth celebration. It's the community festival happening on Blythe Street at the old fairgrounds. That's from 2 to 8 p.m. So you can celebrate Juneteenth a day early and celebrate Father's Day at the same time. It is a free event open to the public. And then on Monday, that is the actual holiday that is Juneteenth. On the 22nd of June is the relocation and ribbon cutting ceremony for Children Are People at their new location on Teal Drive. Also on that day, that one's at 10 a.m. and then 11 a.m. they're doing the ribbon cutting for the new shade structure at the Miracle Park. On the 24th of June, there is a chalk walk in downtown Gallatin. On the 27th through the 1st of July is the Sumner County Carnival happening at the Sumner County Fairgrounds. And then on the 30th is the Homer Bradley Homecoming at Charter Senior Living, benefiting the Gallatin Fire Benevolent Fund. And that happens from 5 until 6:30. I believe they're having a ham and bean supper and raising money for that. On the 4th of July, we will be celebrating Independence Day out at Triple Creek Park. There will be food trucks, and we will have fireworks at 9 p.m., and I believe the fire department is planning to do the foam that they do each year. So those are kind of my updates for the evening, and with that, I will close Mayor's comments and move on into the regular agenda. We begin this evening with Mr. Stephen Carter with the Clearview Park Draft Plan Update Introduction.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just want to start out by saying thank you to the community for showing up to support this meeting tonight and the future of Clearview Park. Also, thank you for showing up to the meetings that we have had in the past. It's been a pleasure to work with Ms. Rosemary Bates of the Gallatin EDA, and I'm looking forward to continue to work with her and other businesses and nonprofits for the betterment of Clearview Park. And at this time, I want to introduce the WOLD team and Mr. Jacob Cherry.
Thank you, Representative Carter. My name is Jacob Cherry. I'm an associate architect and project manager at Wald Architects and Engineers, and I want to thank you for allowing me to speak here tonight. I have a quick agenda. Have you got the presentation up? Okay. There we go.
Yeah.
Got a quick agenda here. We'll do an introduction of the community engagement team, a process overview, discussions about Clearview Park today, development of criteria and commitments, presentation of some concept plans, which will include site plan and building plan, and then a cost recap where we'll present some options. So over the past few months, together with our partners from Community Solutions by Design, Ms. Rosemary Bates from the Gallatin Economic Development Agency, Representative Carter, my colleagues and I have conducted a series of community engagement meetings to discuss a vision for improvements to Clearview Park. I'd like to thank everyone who was involved in those meetings for their participation, many of whom I think are here tonight. And Ms. Bethany Sullivan and her staff at the Gallatin Shalom Zone for graciously hosting and providing a forum for community members to give voice to their vision for this cherished community asset. Over the course of several meetings, community members discussed their perceptions of current park deficiencies, including park infrastructure, a lack of maintenance, concerns over safety, and the inability for the park to support community functions and programming. There were also many conversations about historical inequity and a lack of investment in this public space. Some of the deficiencies include the deteriorated state of the park pavilions, abandoned tennis courts, grading and drainage problems at the existing basketball courts, which have been resurfaced by the Parks Department, the state of the softball field and the bleachers, which are currently not code compliant and present potential safety risks, dated playground equipment, as well as the location of the new playground equipment that was recently installed, a lack of site lighting and accessibility concerns with the existing walking track, and a lack of adequate parking and deteriorated state of the parking lots. Many discussions about the existing community building, including a lack of sufficient restroom facilities, food preparation space, HVAC performance, and a grossly undersized meeting gathering area to support the community functions. Over the course of our discussions, we charged the community with building out a set of criteria to help define the needs of the park, which would be used as a basis for developing an improvement plan. Essentially, tell us the why to help justify the what. We've highlighted key points of those discussions here. So in our commitments and criteria, we have the park should be welcoming, accommodating, support activities through infrastructure and programming, and should be safe. The park should have adequate parking, wayfinding, and site lighting for safety. We've also heard that the infrastructure for the park itself should support those activities, including seating at sport fields, trails and paths for walking and jogging, and for children to ride bicycles, inclusion of tennis and pickleball courts, multi-purpose combination soccer football field, as well as a concession stand to support community athletic activities, and improvements at the basketball courts. Playground equipment should be accessible. We're looking for improved safety. The park should have more trees. The current pavilion should be replaced. We need restrooms. We don't have any restrooms. The restrooms that we have are locked up inside of a building which we cannot access. Community buildings should have a community room capable of hosting large community gatherings, such as family reunions, showers, and birthday parties. We need to have a food preparation space. I don't know what family get-togethers you have that don't include food, but all of mine, we love to eat, and so we feel that's a pretty important part of our culture, right? We need to have opportunities for fitness and exercise equipment for park visitors, and we should have a stage. We should be able to celebrate the activities that community members are doing, and we need to have a multi-purpose space that can help support that usage. We've put together site plans from those discussions and those criteria that summarize the improvements both at a site and a building scale, which focus on improvements to support and expand programming. So all of those items that we just discussed or reviewed are shown on this plan. So we have expanded parking, replaced pavilions, grading and drainage improvements at the basketball courts. We have new tennis and pickleball courts. We have bleachers for the softball fields, bleachers for the multi-purpose fields, support from the Parks Department for striping and using the multi-purpose field, as well as new lighting around the walking path. We've taken those and developed a building plan that supports the usage that the community members have asked for. So we've got a lobby and reception space with staff counter and staff office so that the parks can actually staff this building to support community usage, including single-user indoor restrooms and externally accessed restrooms for a site that has no restrooms currently and increases the current number of restrooms for users of the actual building, as well as a large multi-purpose room with adjacent storage for tables, chairs, stage risers, equipment, anything that you would want to be able to use in this multi-purpose room. We need to be able to store those materials. We also have a catering kitchen and concessions to support the building and park functions. One of the discussions that came out of this was whether or not it was safe to actually have cooking in this building. So what we've put together is a concept for a catering kitchen that would allow food to be brought in. So as you're having a community gathering, you can actually bring your food with you. You can temper it, you can serve it. The concessions portion of it would actually help support recreational programming for the site so that rec leagues can take advantage of using the site after hours. We can have parents and community members who can actually support the park through concessions vending for Parks and Recreation to actually encourage usage of that site. We put together costs for each of those improvements, and these are fairly high level right now and could develop further as we get into further stages of design, but showing the full range of each of those improvements that we've put on this. There's a bottom line here for total improvements and construction costs, but we've also broken it out separately into a couple of options. One being a site-focused option where you focused on site improvements that actually help support programming for the park, which would be new picnic pavilions, new bleachers, lighting improvements, improvements at the basketball courts, new tennis and pickleball court, and multi-purpose field improvements with a subtotal there, as well as an option for a building-focused option, which would provide a new community building to replace the existing community building and the associated parking expansion and improvements that would need to go with it, and summarize those into a final do-all option that gives you an understanding of what the full scope of these improvements could look like on the park scale. With that, I think that's kind of the bottom line, so are there any questions?
I'm impressed with all that you got in there very clearly in a short period of time. Wow.
Yeah, I was good.
Yeah. And I thank you for your work. Councilman Carter, thank you for your work and community too. I'm looking at it from a distance, so I probably need to examine it up close a little bit, but I like it.
Kind of flew through it. I wanted to keep it high level, get straight to the point, No, these have not been put out for bids.
It's all
This is
conceptual.
community engagement. We're essentially just trying to capture all of the feedback from the community members who will be using this space and what their desires and needs are for the park, and try to put some high-level numbers so that you can understand it, city council can understand it from a budgeting perspective, and be able to make decisions that will help move this project forward.
I have a question. Does the do-it-all option include the fees associated? Oh, sorry. Does the last option, the do-all option, does that include the fees associated with WALD?
No, I specifically left it at construction budgeting because there's always conversations about how fee structures and soft costs are accounted for. You can anticipate on a project like this if you were to include everything together, you could look at potential for a 20% add on top of that, which would include professional fees, testing, services. Because this is a local project, you may be able to work with your building commission and your plan review folks to cut you deals on waiving permitting fees, waiving plan review fees. That would actually help that number come down. So without having a lot of definition in that, I wanted to strictly focus this on a construction cost budgeting.
But no equipment or furnishings either? Is that near 20% or no?
FF&E usually accounts for about 8%, and whether or not that would be
8?
included. Now, for building out a catering kitchen like that, that equipment would be included. We're essentially talking about the difference between tables and chairs being included, stage risers, fitness equipment. Those elements are not included in this estimate.
What's the size of the building?
We limited it around 4,000 square feet just because
Oh.
we're trying to keep an eye on what we know the city has allocated as a budget for this project. And with a really modest construction cost that I think puts the building-focused option within range of what you currently have allocated.
Anyone else with any questions?
I have been to all of the meetings. I have been so impressed with the engagement of the community and for what Wald has provided, and I think it's amazing what you put together. Thank you.
I'm trying to get a better picture on the options. All option, the number you gave include the pavilion and all the sport, including the court, the soccer field, everything?
Yes, sir. So the multi-purpose field that's there right now has some grading issues. So it's not what I would consider to be a field that is safe to play on. The Parks Department has taken it upon themselves to actually come out and do some improvements, but with a site development option here, you have the opportunity to have a grading contractor on site who does earthwork to actually make full improvements of those. And then there are a number of options that are essentially low impact, low budget improvements that the Parks Department can handle internally, such as striping your existing walking track to support separation between walking and riding bicycles. They will stripe out community fields for rec use that, you know, we showed, I think, a 10 under soccer field on there, but that could be broken down in any number of ways depending on the age of the participants and what the specific sport is that is going to be supported. Now, there's a number of items of equipment that I imagine the Parks and Recreation Department could work into their budget or currently has that they could bring to the site in order to support that use.
I think it's a good plan. Appreciate the work. It's needed.
Anyone else with any questions? I just would remind this council that this doesn't also include programming costs, and so at some point, there's some operational costs that we need to consider as well. Thank you so much. I think from there, we need to start having more conversations and figure out what our next steps are. And so, Councilman Carter, I look forward to working with you.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item 2 is purge bad debt fiscal year 2023 for utilities. Mr. Kellogg.
Good evening, Mayor Brown, council. This is our annual presentation to the council for our bad debt accounts to be written off. There are 318 accounts totaling $70,777.28. It's actually less in the number of accounts and the dollar amount than it has been in the last 7 or 8 years.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. We need a motion on that to send, motion to send on.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Fennell, second by Councilwoman George. Any questions, discussion? Okay, all in favor of moving it on to council, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. We will be seeing it again next week. Thank you, Mr. Kellogg. Item number 3 is ordinance 02306-38, establishing water and sanitary sewer system development charges and amending the Gallatin Municipal Code, Chapter 17, to reflect the new charges. Again.
Thank you. This next item is the second piece of the fee and rate study that Jackson Thornton did for us earlier in the year. This is actually implementing the system development charge, which will be charged to new development lots for infrastructure improvements in our system, like the water plant expansion, water and sewer improvements. It's a 3-year phase-in, which was what the consultant recommended.
Motion, send it on.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Hayes, second by Councilwoman George. It is a 3-year phase-in beginning July 1, 2023.
Or probably not July 1, probably sometime in August.
Okay. So, but then the next one would be a year later, and the next one would be a year later. I think it makes sense, especially in our growth trajectory. Any questions on this? Mr. Javance?
Thank you, ma'am. I read the study again. You know, that was a good study. And again, they recommend a multi-year approach. But when I look at the number, I don't agree with the multi-year approach. I think we should go directly to the top tier, one time. The study showed the cost for water per equivalent residential unit is almost $2,300 without including labor, material expansion. With $1,000 buy-in and $1,300 on investment. If we're going to the 3-step process, year 1 doesn't pay for investment, just pay for buy-in. Year 2 pay half of the investment. And I was looking at the number, they say we have projected treatment investment of $137 million coming for the plant. So that's money we're gonna have to put out, and same with the gas. Your one pay only half, your two pay 75%. I think we need to change the way we do business. We need to stop giving stuff for cheap and make people pay what they're supposed to pay. I'm okay for the rest, but I think we should go directly to the tier, make it clear, sleep, August 1st. We charge tier 3, just one. We don't have to worry about increasing next year, increasing the year after. We get money in the bank because that's what the studies say. We need to put money in the department, and we should go directly to the top tier. And that's how that should be. They want to do business here. They need to pay for it. So I would like to make an amendment to go to one tier only, raise at the top tier, and do 1 year raise, and it's done. It's in a book.
Motion on an amendment on this? Motion dies for lack of a second. Anyone else with any questions for Mr. Kellogg or any comments? Motion to move it on to council?
Motion to move
Oh,
on.
sorry. Okay.
Yeah, there was a motion.
All in favor of moving it on to council, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Thank you. We will.
Thank you.
All right. Item number 5 is resolution R23. Oh, sorry, Mr. Gavigan. Thank you. Charles Gavigan Paving Program, Assistant City Engineer.
Evening, Charles Gavigan, Assistant City Engineer with Capital Improvements. Presenting the list of the paving program that we put together for this year. These are a list of roads that we're recommending for rehabilitation, whether that be repaving, crack sealing, so forth. These roads were selected based on a PCI score, which came from evaluation done by AECOM a few years back. Basically, they give a number score for the roadway condition. So we went through, picked the lowest numbers that we could find, drove those roads, made sure that we verified that those roads do need paving. And so this is the list that we've compiled to present to you all for how to spend the money. The money for this item has already been approved in this year's budget. We just want to get y'all's blessing on the list of roads that we've come up with.
I defer to your expertise. Any questions for Mr. Gavigan?
Yeah, I got a question. Did y'all, I talked to Nick, I guess, last week. Did y'all check on Greenlee Boulevard?
As far as,
I think we did a thing, I think, was it last year or something, where we were working with Goodall about that?
yeah, so we met with Goodall, it's probably been 3-4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I think that is getting on the roll. We're trying to
Okay.
get that fixed.
All right.
About repairs?
About doing they're repaving, resurfacing the whole thing, yeah.
Craig, you're talking about in front of the townhouses right there at the knoll.
The other side, not what we just paid. Right. Anyone else?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Councilman Hayes, second by Councilwoman George. Mr. Javance?
Charles, thank you for stepping in. How the PCI number works? It's 100 to 0, and the lowest is the bad one?
Yeah, so 100 would be ideally your perfect condition roadway. It's smooth, no major bumps, anything like that. 0 being, of course, probably gravel road, very poor condition roadway.
And these are the worst one we have?
Yes. Based on, now, some of those we verified. There were some that maybe had a worse score, but when we went out there to field verify them, based on how much they get used or what kind of traffic's going down them, some of the others have deteriorated quicker since the last evaluation. So those got bumped up in the list.
And on top of your head, if you don't know, it's okay, you can email it to me, but how many miles approximately that represent?
I don't know that number off the top of my head, but I can send it to you.
Thank you, sir.
Guys, I paid it this morning when I was leaving. I noticed a bulldozer that unloaded out in the road. And I'm sure I'll pass there this evening. I suspect some of the pavement is tore up. Are we supposed to report that to you guys? Will that, the builder has, he assumes the responsibility of repairing that piece. Am I correct?
I would have to check on that, but, I mean, if they're tearing up our roads, then
Yeah, I'll interject that, as their inspections happen throughout the processes, that's a lot of times, and it's not just related to construction, it's related to fireworks stands and other things too, that, that's when they're inspecting, and then they will, they do the sureties so that they are making sure that damage and installations are accurate, so. But that's why you've got our great engineering and codes inspectors out there in the field. We move this on to vote on it, or you just want us to be aware of it? Okay, sorry. Motion, Craig reminds me we have a motion, a second. Okay, all in favor of sending on the paving program recommendations to council, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, be on the council meeting. Now, item 5 is resolution R2306-50, adopting a plan of services for the annexation of 235.509 acres located east of Lot 4 Road and north of Peach Valley Road. And for that, Mr. McCord, our city planner, is at the podium.
Okay. Bill McCord, City Planner. This next item, actually, I'm going to present items 5 and 6 together. They involve the same properties and basically the same issues. This is a request that we've received, and the council has approved authorization for the applicant to make application to the city for an annexation and plan of service of properties. They're located on, let's see here. Okay, there we go. East of Lock 4 Road, north of Peach Valley Road. It comprises of 235 acres. A portion of the property is already located in the city, and I think I've mentioned this before, but going too fast. There we go. Western portion of the property is already located in the city, and that's that portion that's adjacent to the east side of Lock 4 Road. The balance of the property, which is shown on the screen and in your agenda package, outlined in yellow, is the area that's subject to annexation and the plan of service. Again, it includes a little over 235 acres. The total property would be closer to 295 acres, which would eventually be developed into a multi-phase residential development as is proposed by the applicant. However, I want to stress that a development plan is not part of the annexation. This whole process has been bifurcated in such a way that you have to exhaust the annexation issue first, and then we will then move forward with a zoning proposal, which the applicant will be presenting if they're successful with the annexation. So it only includes that area inside the boundaries of the yellow lines on your screen. The survey that we had then describes the boundaries of this parcel, and the tax assessor's maps also, even though it's one deeded parcel, splits this up and taxes the portion that's in the city with city taxes, and the balance of the property that's currently in the county is only receives, of course, county taxes. Now, as I mentioned, the portion here is in the city already. Actually, there's a little bit of the property down the very extreme southeastern corner along Peach Valley Road that's also in the city. So, but by and large, the most of the property is currently, of course, in the unincorporated area. The city's boundary extends along the north boundary And then it extends, all of this area here is already in the city. This properties are also in the city here, and properties south and west down towards Lock 4 Park and the wastewater treatment plant are in the city, as well as portions on the far southeastern edge. So this property is substantially surrounded by incorporated area and utilities that feed through this area, even though it's not, parts of it aren't in the city, and to adjacent properties. So utilities essentially surround the property, both water and sewer and gas lines as well. This area is in a larger enclave. As I'll go back to the location map, the enclave, the city has within the corporate boundaries all the properties on either side of Highway 109 down to the Cumberland River, and then all of the properties basically along Lock 4 Road, all the way down to Lock 4 Park, and including the wastewater treatment plant, which is adjacent to the Cumberland River. So it is encircled by the city. There are other unincorporated parcels that are adjacent to this parcel and further to the south and or to the east and northeast of this property. So it is part of a large enclave, but not the whole portion of the enclave. The applicant has indicated to their master plan, and I want you to be aware that this is not a vesting master plan if you were to vote to annex the property. But this is a conceptual master plan that they may present as part of their zoning application later on if they're successful with the annexation, which indicates a variety of residential development, which would have access points to and from Peach Valley Road, Lock 4 Road, and stub streets to future street extensions, both in the central portion of the site to the north side here, which could eventually be extended to Nichols Lane and potentially extended south to Peach Valley Road. And also on the northeastern portion that would extend into an adjacent parcel, which is also undeveloped and part of the larger enclave. So the applicant's, this conceptual plan is about 876 units, and it would be on 295 acres, including that portion that's already in the city. The natural areas would be preserved for the most part. What you perceive as natural areas, and those would be the intermittent streams and the slopes associated with those and buffers associated with those. There is a TVA utility line that extends through the northerly portion. You can kind of see it there of the property, and of course there wouldn't be any construction of homes that would occur in that area. So there is a plan of service. The plan of service is obviously has to be based on some type of development, and so since the applicant has provided this to us, we use this as the basis for the plan of service. If some other zoning approval comes through, and the city has annexed it, and some other zoning approval comes through, then we'll may have to re-examine that plan of service and make adjustments to it to reflect that what's actually going to be developed. Again, this is a new process that we have to split in different phases, if you will, of reviewing these plans and submitting them to you. So the Planning Commission did review this request, and by a 5-2 vote voted for recommendation of the plan of service and annexation resolutions.
Motion to send it on.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Hayes, a second by Councilwoman George.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to reiterate is what he said, is that this does not, we're not approving the development.
Right.
And as I said before, it'd be hard pressed for me to come in here and say that, okay, they're going to have that many houses on this acreage. So I was just letting myself be known about that. You know, I think I said that a month ago or 2 months ago, but this is just the annexation, so.
Thoughts?
Yes, ma'am. This is my district, and I'm here to represent my constituent and do the best for the city. So the best for the city is not to annex that. There is no question asked. And when I hear in 100 years, if we don't annex that, what people are going to say, I can go the other way. I can say in 100 years, if it's not annexed and it's green, people will probably be happy to have a park instead of having concrete houses. So run the number the first time that came in front of us, and I showed that actually the city will make more money if it's not annexed and built in a county. Now, when I hear that's not what's going to happen, yeah, I know it's funny. When I hear that's not going to happen, that's what's going to happen. They already spend money on a plan, they're not going to change it. So that's what's going to happen there. I don't have a crystal ball, but I can bet on that. The plan of service, we go back to, again, the same thing. It's called a plan of service. So we're supposed to have the same service level that got pointed out by Commissioner Klein, by Ms. Jovans, by Pastor Alexander. Right now, the city can't afford it. Again, and that's not the fault of the PD, that's not the fault of the chief. I talk to him regularly. They're working out to get people in the force, but that's not an easy stuff. We're still short on police officer. We're short on every service, almost every service in the city. We need to take care of what we have. We need to take care of the park. We need to take care of soft water. We need to take care of our downtown. We don't need to expand. I don't understand why, like Commissioner Klein said, there is that urge of expanding. Why? Done it all, that's the stuff I hear again and again, but we have created done it all everywhere. So that's not gonna change. I read the plan of service, you probably read it like I do, or you don't. But Public Works say additional maintenance costs for street, vehicle, and facility maintenance. So that's gonna cost us money. School, where do the kids go to school? Again, we say, we let the school know, but that doesn't matter what we let them know. If they don't have school to go, they're going to go to Gallatin High, who's already at 139% capacity per the numbers of Sumner County. And nowhere in the report we talk about Lock 4 Road, really, what it is. The developer, when he came here, sales pitch show, that they're going to develop intersection outside of the development, but everything is going to dump in Lock 4 Road until the road will be developed when we don't know will be there. On May 23rd, we have one of my constituents who signed in front of us and who sent to everybody a study of 2007. And that study, I printed it. All right, that's 79 pages. Widening on Lock 4 Road, Nichols Lane to Lock 4 Park. And that's pretty interesting study. Hopefully you read it. But there's few things in there were really interesting. Improving the existing cross-section to a standard cross-section. So remember, that was 2007. With no less than even 11-foot travel lanes with shoulder or curb and gutter will improve the traffic operation along this road. Widening Long 4 Road will also increase safety and driver comfort along the roadway. Safety has been brought all the time for that road. And I drove that road a lot because when I campaigned, that was my district, so I went hit the pavement down there, and that was not an easy road to work on. The study talks too about environmental impact, where I don't see anything in there. The study show in 2007 that the road was already substandard. So, you know, what's substandard? I'm not a traffic engineer, so I went to look at TDOT. You have to love internet now. You can get so much stuff out of it. So TDOT have a website where they put actual count on roads. They have little station who count the traffic. In 2022, because they don't have this year yet, it shows an average daily traffic in Lock 4 Road on 9,573 cars, with an annual trend volume growth of 19% in 2020 and 13% 2022, and a decrease in 21 of 9%. For just comparison purpose, if you never went there, it's almost 1/3 of Nashville Park volume, if I'm following the TDOT number, okay? So that's Nashville Park. That's Lock 4 Road. 1/3 of the traffic of Nashville Park. And the study take account, was really interesting, an add-on of 500 homes were built on that area and show a huge difference in traffic, including a peak in traffic, which looks like what's construction traffic. So again, construction traffic. When that's gonna start to be developed, trucks gonna dump on Lock 4 Road all day long, all day long. You're gonna have dump trucks when they're gonna try to start to move ground, dump truck on Lock 4 Road all the time. And trust me, that's not fun, because I see that on Longolo Park, same thing all the time to all these developments. That road can't handle it, okay? So annexing to annex, it's not good, all right? We can't annex that road. That's not good for the city. We need to wait before annexing anything more. We can't afford it. Somebody is going to have to pay for it, and our constituents going to pay for it. So I'm against that, and I will continue to be against it.
Anyone else with any questions for Mr. McCord?
I would like to say that the plan that is shown up there on the board, I don't support that plan. I will not vote for that plan. However, this is about annexation, and I've really thought about it a lot. And I feel that I would like to have this land annexed, my vote, into the city so that we could control our destiny. That's just the way that I feel about that. Seeing that all the land that is annexed around it, and we've got that one piece right there, who knows, maybe we can find something that we could all agree on that would serve the public better and be a better fit for that piece of property. That's all I have to say.
Else?
I'm trying to echo what Mr. Spinell just said.
Okay. Y'all ready to vote? Okay, this is voting on moving forward Resolution R2306-50, the adopting the plan of services for the annexation at east of Lot 4 north of Peach Valley. All in favor of moving it forward, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
No.
Okay, it moves forward 5-1. Item 6, presentation is going to be much the same.
Yeah, motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Councilman
Second.
Hayes. Second by Councilwoman George. Any discussion relevant to this, different than what we've heard already? Okay, Mr. Javance.
Thank you, ma'am. No one property owner or small group of property owners will benefit materially from the annexation and plan of service to the detriment of the general public. That's the wording of the ordinance. Plan of service show that we will not be to part with emergency service, and that will impact the general public. Mayor, I'm going to quote you. 2015, you get Gallatin as a very special culture, and the key for us for our future to stand apart for other community like ours all over the state is to maintain that, to grow and preserve that small town culture. I want that page run back. That's not what we're doing right now. Again, constituent came here and talk about, city being in default with previous plan of service. I got schooled a few times by our legal department, and again talked to them today, and I got given the legal advice who said that the city is not in default until the judge say we are in default. You're going to agree with me, I suppose, because these were your words. And, I respect your legal advice, but that doesn't mean I agree with it. Because, if somebody steals a car, he's still a thief. Even if he doesn't get caught, he's still a thief. So this stuff comes on again and again and again. So I would love to get a judge's opinion on that so we can put it to bed. If a judge tells us we're not in default, we're not in default. If a judge says we're in default, we fix it. That's what I think. So, again, we can't afford that.
Anyone else wishing to, asking questions on this?
I have a comment.
Mr. Carter?
So my family and I attended a wedding for a good family friend of ours. I met a couple that lives out in the area that I'd never met before. And I just want to point out that that is a couple that did support the annexation in that area and is looking forward to the growth there as long as it's developed right.
Are there anyone else? Okay, let's vote to move this on to council. It's Resolution R2306-51, annexing the 235.509 acres east of Block 4, north of Peach Valley. All in favor of moving it forward, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Passes 5-1. Item number 7 is Resolution R2306-52, reclassifying positions within the Human Resources Department. Ms. Courtney Russell is recognized.
Good evening, Council. Courtney Russell, Director of the Human Resources Department. I have brought forth, as part of the budget that was previously approved, there were some of the positions within HR that were reclassified previously. This is the final 2 positions within the department that I'm trying to better align functionally to serve our employees and then ultimately the city, the citizens of the city as well. By moving the HR assistant to include the reception so that we do have someone at the front of City Hall. Does anyone have any questions? I did provide the job descriptions and.
I've spoken, we never like doing this outside of the annual budget reviews. But I've spoken with Ms. Russell. She's actually had a part-time person who has left and some people within the department who are filling the various needs of that department. And so she's essentially sacrificing that one part-time that is gone to make this happen for the existing positions. And I support this plan.
Motion to send on.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Fennell, second by Councilman Van. Are there any questions, any comments, discussion?
Thank you.
All right, all in favor of moving forward R2306-52, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. It is unanimously moved forward to council. Item 8 is the resolution R2306 revising the employee pay plans and the updated job descriptions associated.
So as part of the approved budget, there was the cost of living adjustment. And so Exhibit A of this resolution is the adjusted figures, the salary charts for the hourly employees as well as the salary and then the fire department separately.
Motion to send to council.
Motion by Councilman Javant, second by Councilman Hayes. Any discussion, any questions? Okay, all in favor of sending resolution R2306-53 forward, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Moves forward unanimously. Supported. Thank you, Ms. Russell. And then item number 9 is the Resource Authority Board appointment. I mentioned to y'all a few weeks ago that L.K. Lanham is resigning his position on that board. I did tell you all that I would be interested in serving. I don't know if we brought it up last time or not, but Mr. Hayes shared with me that Rick Murphy has interest in serving. Of course, I know him, and when he digs in really deep. And I do intend to be engaged as we move forward and attend more meetings. Mr. Hayes lets me know when they are. I'll be there. But I'm entirely fine with that appointment as well, so.
Motion to appoint Rick Murphy to the.
Second that.
Motion by Councilman Hayes, second by Councilman Carter. Any questions, any discussion?
So does that mean you will not be serving?
That's correct.
Okay. So how would you be involved?
I would just attend meetings.
Oh, okay.
And give our representatives my opinions and feedback, and I'm fine to do that. So. Okay, all in favor of appointing Rick Murphy, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Okay, it moves forward to council with unanimous support. That concludes the regular agenda, brings us now to other business. And so I'd ask if any member of this body does have other business to bring forward at this time. Mr. Javons.
Yes, Mayor. Again, I want to bring back the impact fee because I think we need to have a good look at it. I talked to legal today, and I appreciate their insight. And I got myself a lot more involved in it. I talked to a councilman in Portland who adopted 2 years ago. I talked to 2 of our state rep. I talked to Johnny this morning, and I bumped to William at lunch, was kind of known, so we talked about it. And I understand we have to go to legislature to make that happen, but again, why don't we? Okay. We have shown this year there is no problem going to the legislature when stuff needs to be done. We've seen that with the change of charter for appointing on boards, so that can be done. But we need a resolution from this council. So I'm trying to understand why this council is so opposed to get money from development to help our city services. So Portland did it, Andersonville did it, few cities more in Tennessee did it, and they all use the same consulting firm I talked to. They sent me a sample of their report. It was actually really, really good because that's what they do. And if I look at Andersonville, they get fees for the fire department, for the parks department, and for the police. So any new building, any new construction, commercial or not commercial, pitch in to help develop our services. And why they do that, it's because they understand that development don't pay for themselves. So why people who are already here will have to pay for new development. Andersonville had the same numbers than Portland. That would add to development $1,200 for single family, $700 for multifamily. And they have a scale for industrial development. But on these $1,200, $550 will go to the fire, $450 will go to the parks, and $240 will go to the police. That's what came with the study. So again, we have an opportunity here to get something going. We're going to bring money to the city, help us take care of our department. We at Park want always more money. We're the perfect example, with Clearview Park, where we have $2 million allocated, but if I look at the presentation, I just don't want to interrupt you. Sorry. You done? Thank you. If I look at the presentation, because these people deserve to get the park taken care of, it's going to be with the add-on and around 2.5 mil. So that's $500K more than what was budgeted. So we need to do something. And I would like to hear why you guys are opposed to get that going so we can get money in.
Pascal, I'm not totally against it, but I would like somebody to give me a justifiable reason why we don't need it or why we shouldn't do that. I'm not against that.
I think it's more about the path to making it happen at this point in time, as we have brought up so many times over the years. There is, and I don't know where Hendersonville and Portland's ability to do it comes from. You may be able to speak to how they are different from us. But I mean,
different charters than we have.
I just heard today on the news that Rutherford County had attempted to implement impact fees, and the legislature turned them down just this past legislative session. And so I've always been told by the legislators that until that litigation is resolved that's going on in Williamson County, because I think they found in favor of Williamson County, and then it was appealed, and it got ongoing, that yes, our representatives would carry something if we ask them to, but that the temperature at the legislature is probably not going to be supportive of that.
And then the cost is going to be put onto the consumer. I mean, somebody's going to pay for it.
Right.
So they're not just going to.
Which I don't have a problem with that, but I'm like, does it have to be a charter change?
Yes.
Yeah.
We can't do anything until next year anyway, correct? Until the end of the year, right?
Well, the legislature can't do anything
Right,
until the
Yeah,
session.
legislature, when I talked to Johnny, he said that basically legislature in 2024, go for it, and that will be the same process we did with changing the charter on there, but the earlier we start, the easier it's going to be, and if we send it to legislature and they turn it down, we still have the choice to put it on a ballot if we need to.
I would entertain a conversation of that when it's appropriate. One other thing that, I don't want to cut you off, Mr. Javons, but one other thing that I was interested in was the traffic studies before these developments. I mean, we did discuss that, and we haven't discussed that for a little bit, but that would be something that I'm interested in trying to pursue or having a conversation about.
So I have a scheduled meeting. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I have a meeting scheduled with engineering and planner to talk about that on the 21st at 10 a.m. at engineering building. So you're welcome to come. We're going to find
No, that would violate the Open Meetings Act if two of you are there and it's going to be something that's
don't
going to
come.
be.
Don't come. So sorry about that. You're not welcome. That's going to be my private meeting. Thank you, Susan. I didn't think about that. So, yeah, I will come back and give you the result of that. But again, there is no risk of doing it. It's just a resolution we can draft. We can use other people's resolution, pass it, and send it to legislature. If they approve it, they approve it. If they don't, they don't. We'll find another way. There is no risk. So why don't we do it?
Because it will stop development.
No, that won't.
Okay.
No, that won't.
Something I think for this body to contemplate, if you so desire.
Yeah. I mean, that's fine. I mean, we've talked about it. I've been on here a long time. We've talked about it many times. And just never been able to do it, so.
We have a path, so let's follow the path.
Anyone else with any other business this evening? Okay, Mr.
Can we
Carter.
put discussion for Clearview on the next work session? So that we can come up with the next steps? and determine what those
We
would be?
can, I would ask that you make a motion to do so.
A motion to add, all right.
I mean, it would have been clean to vote for it at the beginning of the meeting, but I felt like people needed to
Second.
contemplate for a bit. Motion second, all in favor of putting it on the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we will
We
put,
make sure Rosemary's here for that meeting.
I don't know.
She loves me, she'll be here.
She is here. I saw you get up earlier. I thought you might not be here. Are you available for that? I don't want to put pressure on you if you've got a trip planned or something. I'm making a note. Okay, anyone else with other business?
I think there's going to be a few of us out of next week's meeting.
Okay.
So, I know Linda's going to be gone, I'm going to be gone.
What
Well,
days that fall on?
Next week is the voting meeting,
Right.
and so it's the following week would be, is that the, didn't we say to put it on the next work session?
Yeah.
Councilman?
May 27th.
Yeah.
I could be gone too.
They're going to be gone next week or the
You're
following
going to
week.
be on next week, too?
I don't know.
Next week or the following week?
Next week is the May, and Linda.
Yes. All right, department heads. Who has something this evening?
Motion to adjourn.
I just want to report, we got a feed today from Tennessee Data Center, and they had projected or estimated, I should say, the population of Gallatin from July 1st, 2022, at 48,194, which is, of course, less than what I reported to you not too long ago and used in the plan of service report of 51,653 because that's from a different source, and it's a 2023 number. So there's a difference in thing. We are continuing to grow. Clarksville, Murfreesboro, Nashville, Lebanon, Columbia, Mount Juliet, Spring Hill, and Gallatin. That's 8 of the 10 fastest growing cities are essentially our neighbors. And we're not the fastest growing, but I want you to know we're not in this boat of growth by ourselves. But we have to think outside the box, and we have to stop doing things the way we've done them for 30, 40 years, or how you're familiar with them maybe. So there are things that need to be done. Perhaps impact fees are a solution to that, but you really need to customize your impact fees. You just can't adopt a fee and say, oh, well, we want to charge this or that. You have to do a study. So there's a lot of work that goes into developing that fee and a lot of negotiation as well. So that is a tool. That's one of many tools, but there are a lot of other smarter ways perhaps that can accommodate growth that's coming our way. It's coming Lebanon's way. It's coming all our neighbors' way. So it's important, it's imperative on this body here to think outside the box. Ask what the other communities are doing. We're continuing to grow. Nashville is growing. It's a rapidly growing area. The rest of the state's not growing. If you see I wanted to show you this little map they gave us today. It's pretty interesting. You can see, it's hard to see that view from here, but we can all get this. But you see all the blue dots, and the bigger the blue dot is, the faster or the more rapidly growing it is. West Tennessee is not growing. There's a lot of red dots in West Tennessee. And then there's some red dots scattered sporadically. Interestingly enough, Sevierville and Gatlinburg and Pittman Center, Pigeon Forge are showing a decline in population. Now, that may have had something to do with probably had a lot to do with COVID and the shutdown of the service economy associated with tourism and so forth. That's going to probably reverse, but Nashville area is growing fast, and we're doing our best to accommodate what the desires of people who see Gallatin as an attractive place to live. So I'll keep reporting this information to you, and We're getting more census data in now. It was late coming out because of, for a variety of reasons. But we're starting to get more of this information, and we'll be able to make better decisions and provide you with better information as we get this.
Any other department head reports? Okay, seeing none.
But can I ask Peter a question?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, he's talking right now, so. Hey, Bill. Bill,
Oh, I'm sorry.
you say think outside the box. So what's your take on that? Why don't you give us some ideas?
Well, I have. I've been giving you all
Bill,
ideas.
Mr.
I've
McCord
been
is
giving you lots of
full of
ideas.
ideas.
A lot of them y'all haven't
There was
taken.
one better way than the way of impact fees. What is one better way?
Well, one thing you have done is we have the Big Station Camp Boulevard Transportation Improvement District. That's an alternative.
That's an
To
excellent.
those folks, and you might want to, if you do adopt an impact fee, you might want to exempt them from it because they're already paying for that in their own voluntary type of way. They're getting the improvements in their neck of the woods, which that's really what you really want to do is when you get an impact fee, you don't want it to, your funds to go across town and do something that's not going to benefit you. So those things are in the statute that the city can take advantage of. So if we have a deficiency, which again, y'all have not, and one of the innovative things, I mentioned level service standards. Now, there was a little bit of level service standards implied with the discussion of the plan of service. We don't have level service standards. We have guidelines, we have maybe aspirations, but we don't have level service standards. There's a lot that goes into that. If you adopt a level of service standard and you don't abide by it, then you've got some issues. And it can get very costly. Impact fees is a drop in the bucket compared to trying to comply with some established level of service standard, which could be unreasonable.
Couple of things that he and I have talked about over the years, and it's so funny to watch you get so excited when you're in your jam. But
I'm excited about what I do
I
when
know
I'm
you are.
successful.
And I know, and you're terribly passionate.
And I'm frustrated
about it.
when I'm
It served
not.
our city well. But transfer of development rights, I think that is a key to future preservation. And I actually had a constituent, and I've asked you about this, although we've never gone anywhere with it, had a constituent suggest that we do like a new construction small fee that would be dedicated to land preservation or historical preservation. And that was one of the ideas that I liked as well. So there's all kinds of good ideas out there. It's just figuring out what impact takes us a negative direction and what impact keeps us on a positive direction. And I do think it's important to continue to remember just the trajectory that we're in. I mean, we keep talking, people think that Gallatin's the only city growing. You pointed out that we're not, which, by the way, we are having conversations about another special census, which I think would benefit Gallatin. I'd like to see the whole county do it together. But appreciate your work and your thoughts and your information that you continue to share with us. And always open to your good ideas.
Thanks. All right, that's all.
All right, motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Councilwoman George, second by Councilman Carter. All in favor, say aye. See you next week, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Have a lovely evening. Be safe going home and be kind to one another. Good night.